pleasure to invite Ms. Judy Chen, Chief Executive of Tourism Export Council of New Zealand. Judy has 15 years of experience in the tourism industry. Previously, she was the Director of Sales and Marketing at Hotel Grand Chancellor, New Zealand. She was also awarded the New Zealand Hotel Industry's Senior Hotel Executive of the Year. She is the founding member of Young TEC, a subsidiary of TEC New Zealand for young tourism professionals, and is passionate about sharing her experience with the next generation of tourism leaders. She also sits on the Tourism Advisory Board of the Tourism Management School at Victoria University. Today, she will talk to us about the upcoming future trends as well as the business and investment opportunities in tourism. Please welcome Ms. Judy Chen.
Namaste, kia ora tātou, and greetings everyone. These lights are very bright. It's fantastic to be here, and thank you all for bringing tourism into this forum, because it is great to have such topic to brought into a general business and trade discussion, as we all know and have heard how important tourism is to our industry, and there are enormous potentials as well. So Tourism Export Council of New Zealand, so we're also an industry trade membership body, but our interest is really solely representing the tourism export sector. So that is basically bringing international visitors into New Zealand. Our membership include inbound tour operators, who often are the first ones of bringing people into the New Zealand market. So for example, India, before Tourism New Zealand have set up their office in India, our inbound tour operators are the ones that brought the first 10 and 20,000 of visitors into this country. So often they are really the frontiers or the pioneers into any new markets around the world. So I guess it's probably running along with the theme of today's summit as well, technology. So one of the trends that I'm sort of identifying is obviously the tech innovation around things and the potential around what does that mean for tourism. So as we can see, I mean, really in terms of India, you've got a very vibrant IT sector, a great startup sector as well. I'm sure there's a lot of potential to identify how can we tap into some of those, and how can you invest in some of these auxiliary services to really try and improve a tourism product or offering. I sort of think about my own experiences. We're mentioning I do all my banking from an app now. What do we do with our apps before? I have no idea. And when I travel, the only thing I will use if I'm flying in New Zealand is the app as well. There's no paper, no nothing. So just in terms of this is probably all only changed in the last 5 years or so. So the potential is looking at, well, what is the next thing, or in terms of our product offering at the moment, how can we enhance those products using technology? So not only we're improving the experience, but also improving a lot of the efficiency of how we do things around. An example I sort of listed here is, with inbound tour operators and now working with our hotel partners. There's, as you all know, the hotel world has gone into the whole dynamic rate and inventory model over the last few years, but there isn't a really good and efficient and cost-effective way of connecting those inventories and availability with our inbound tour operators, because at the moment it's still very expensive, and there's only a couple of options out there. But surely there must be a way of doing this better, and at the moment the option is only connecting those FIT, which is the free independent travellers, so the group market is completely still manual. So if you think about all the shortage of people that we already have identified as well, there must be ways that we can help with this kind of process and improve the efficiency around things as well. One thing I also want to touch on is obviously technology related is the R&D side of things as well. In tourism in New Zealand, a lot of our businesses are SMEs, so R&D is not even really in their business plan. One, they don't really have the time, they don't have the resources, but that's, I think, a lot of where the potential could come in for you guys is how can you help with researching into some of these areas, so therefore you're the one that coming up with these solutions for our business. Data and insight is another one as well. There's certainly a gap around data. data analytics, understanding and collection. So, I think we need to be a very much more data-driven industry as it really will guide us in terms of a better direction. So that's just a few things around the technology side of things. Next up, workforce. It's already been mentioned that people really is our most important thing. In today's world, people, your team, our team, is really representing your brand. So really getting that right is vital for our business. Shortage is obviously pilots, massive shortage in the pilot sector, but certainly in New Zealand, in the front line, areas and even coach drivers, there's certainly been a big shortage identified as well over the next 3-5 years, and how can we try to address those? And again, whether some of the automation and robotic technology side of things may potentially help. Alibaba, I think I was reading, came out with a robotic porter called Space Egg. So it's things like that that could potentially play more of a role in terms of our service industry. And again, I think in terms of the workforce, there's a lot of thinking around diversity, equality, and empowerment as well. So again, trying to investing in your people, and also that post concept of it's no longer you go into a company and stay for life. The millennials in my generation and younger, they basically changing jobs every couple of years. So how do you keep that skill force sort of interested in your company, as well as helping them to unlearn and relearn and keep learning is basically a lifetime of learning these days. So really, it's really thinking about how does all that affect your business and empowering, I guess, the next generation, and then keeping them sort of having that growth mindset going forward. And the next one is already mentioned as well. Sustainability is massive in New Zealand, and I guess in tourism now we've got a very sort of high social conscience in terms of how we manage our tourism growth going forward. I think Asia touched on, they can bring 68,000 people in one day if we really wanted, but certainly, as Chris have mentioned, we don't have the infrastructure for one, and so really it's making sure that we are managing that growth carefully. Green does matter. I think it's no longer a nice to have, it's a must, and it really needs to be ingrained in our business's ethos in terms of what we do, and it should be front and centre of your business strategy as you're planning things forward. And lastly, really just regional growth. It's also being touched on as well. So obviously, in order to try and encourage people to visit the regions, we need new products, no matter whether it's activities or accommodation. So that's where you all came in as well. I was talking to a gentleman from Sri Lanka yesterday, so asking me about building apartment hotels and whether there's a demand for it. So certainly, and especially in some of these regions where I think some of our regions don't have that capability of building those products. So again, how can you tap into those opportunities and at the same time be able to package things to drive people into the regions, especially during those peak times of the year as well. And again, within our membership, our inbound tour operators are essentially itinerary planners. So, once those products are there, they have a strong influence in trying to push people into some of these regions. And again, how we can manage our growth more sustainably as well. So really, just in closing, I really want to encourage you all, those are business owners here, to really, think about investing in tourism as your next business adventure. Venture, well, it could be an adventure at the same time. Managing tourism, if you have ticked those boxes of managing growth sustainably, as well as future-proofing your product, so that it actually aligns with our ethos and strategy as well, you've got a pretty good sort of model already there. And I guess, touching on echoing with everybody else, that's bring those direct flights because, as history has told us, it certainly does influence and helps with trade in general. So thank you.